If we go to 12 teams, three SEC teams in the national championship conversation is not unheard of. However, that's out of 12. We might see it out of 4. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master Football, back at it again. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on all things EA college football, pro football, Madden, anything related to American football, we discuss in the show right now. Hit the subscribe button. It's free to you. Won't cost you a thing. Okay, all it's going to cost you is being updated on everything related to football. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, guys, so the CFP rankings just came out. Well, they came out a little bit ago. But there are some storylines that are certainly lining up right now. We are heading for, I'm telling you, I made a video recently about the potential situations in the SEC and the Big Ten in terms of, how do I say this, ushering in the 12-team playoff much sooner than 2026 up to that 2024 spot. I think it's because, unfortunately, right now, the presidents and the ADs are definitely going to be pushing that because there's going to be a lot of infighting after the collision course we're going to see in many different things. Let's get into those rankings right now to see what that is, because there's a couple things that I told you were going to come into fruition, and it looks like they're lining up that way. And the biggest news story here of all of this stuff, and we're going to get into this in a little bit here. I'm going to talk about the rankings first, but then we're going to talk about this other team here who's going to be, I'm telling you, the most popular team across the entire league in the SEC country right now, without a doubt, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. All right, here we are on the CFB football rankings, and you see the fact that everybody has gone up. Oregon's loss to Washington was a big one, dropped down 6 spots down here. So we see Georgia undefeated 10-0, Ohio State 10-0, Michigan 10-0. Michigan does have an interesting game. They play Illinois, who is at least, like I said, an interesting matchup here. TCU went out there and beat Texas at Texas, so big win there. They have Baylor at home and then Iowa State at home. Tennessee, it looks like they're going to end up 11-1, but not a participant in the conference championship game. And eventually we're going to be, I actually saw Joel Klatt basically say they're going to eliminate those games just because it's creating these weird situations. We're seeing a situation with Ohio State and Michigan that looks like it could end up like that too. USC went out there and beat Colorado. That's nothing special. They've got an interesting matchups coming on up down the road. Alabama out here beat Ole Miss, and then we see LSU is number 6, I jumped over them. Clemson won their game, and then we got Utah, Penn State, and then Oregon down there. And then North Carolina, 9-1, interesting there too. So I wanted to make sure we talked about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish because they have been the gift that keeps on giving to the SEC. Again, if you check out their schedule, they had a rough beginning here, but they've really actually, a lot of their wins were a lot better than you thought they were at the time. Let's check out Notre Dame right now. You see here, again, week 1, they played at Ohio State. Tough place to go and play, and a very, very good team. Lost that game 21-10. Come out the next week at home, Marshall, 26-21. They lost that game. That was one where it was like brutal. Oh my gosh, Notre Dame's not going to make a bowl game. They have since turned it around. Beat Cal. I know, nothing special. At North Carolina was a much better win than you thought it was going to be, 45-32. And then you see they win against BYU. BYU kind of fell off a little bit there. Stanford lost to them by 2. That was not a great loss for them. But then win versus UNLV, win at Syracuse, win versus Clemson, and then a close victory over Navy. They have Boston College coming up, and then you see that last one down there at number 8, USC. Now, USC does not have an easy road coming up. USC has to play at UCLA this next week. I know UCLA just lost to Arizona. Not a great loss. I told you guys Arizona was going to be a surprise team. But UCLA, USC in LA this next week. And then the week after that, it's going to be Notre Dame at USC. Like I said before, if you come and check this out, they beat North Carolina. North Carolina has 1 loss. They beat Clemson. Clemson has 1 loss. And they have an opportunity to potentially take out USC early. Again, if USC runs the table, they're more than likely in the CFP. But if they lose another one, it's over. They're not going to be favored, especially in multiple scenarios here we're going to talk about. So this is where it gets a little bit interesting here. And I see a absolutely nightmare scenario for everybody who's not an SEC fan. Because, again, let's just say Georgia runs the table. That's pretty easy to see there. Ohio State and Michigan, one of them is more than likely going to go to the Big Ten championship game and more than likely win that because right now Purdue has a fighting chance to get to the Big Ten championship game. It's crazy out there in the Big Ten West. TCU, again, like I said, they play Baylor and Iowa State both at home. And then they play potentially, I'm seeing right now it's probably Kansas State, maybe Oklahoma State. I think Texas is probably out of that conversation. It looks like it's going to be Kansas State. They had a 10-point victory over Kansas State at home last time they played them. But again, you give another team another chance. It's tough to beat somebody twice in 1 year. And then you see LSU. LSU and Georgia are already locked up for the conference championship game. LSU's losses were a 40-13 loss to Tennessee, again, who was the number 5 team in the country. And then they lost to Florida State on that really weird, wacky, extra point block situation week 1. It was absolutely nuts. But again, 8-2, doing really, really well. Beat Alabama. Alabama's the number 8 team in the country. But you see this right here. USC's in there, and all the SEC fans, they see, what do they see here? In the top 8, it's SEC, Pac-10, Pac-12, SEC, Big 12, Big 10, Big 10, SEC. So here's a nightmare situation that could be coming, and I'm telling you right now, this would usher in the CFP even faster than it is right now. So Georgia is going to play LSU in the conference championship game. If Georgia loses 12-1 non-conference championship, former national champion last year, they're still going to be in the CFP, okay? That would be crazy because that would be the second time they'd be playing for a national championship in 2 years that they didn't win their conference, that they were playing for a college national championship. LSU would be 11-2 at that point, and then they would be playing, they would be in the CFP, conference champions. So it would be Georgia and LSU, and then Ohio State and Michigan. Whoever wins that game more than likely has a road to the national championship. Michigan's a little bit more difficult because Illinois is right there. But if TCU were to lose, Georgia loses to LSU, we might be in a situation here where we have 3 SEC teams in the CFP. I'm telling you right now, that would usher in the CFP so fast, because if USC also loses as well, I think if USC wins out, they would win at UCLA. They would beat a better than we thought previously Notre Dame team. Then we're looking at, I think USC would be in the CFP as well. So, I mean, right now, my projection for the CFP, looking at this right now, I'm seeing, Georgia's probably going to be in there. I am going to put my money on Ohio State. But at the same time, man, we're looking at Tennessee and Michigan, both 11-1 and not in the national championship conversation, even though they're both 11-1. They only lost to the 1 and 2 teams in the country. They would have their, if anything happened to TCU or anything happened to USC, they would have their case. But again, if the case I would look for, just because they would add some parity to the league, Georgia, number 1 seed, Ohio State, number 2 seed, TCU, number 3 seed, and USC would be the number 4 seed. That's what I want. But again, there's lots of craziness. Like I said, Arizona just lost, right? Arizona just beat UCLA, which throws a wrench into it. Oregon just lost to UW. Oregon still has to play Utah. There's a lot of interesting games there. I think the SEC, for the most part, is kind of set, and they're hoping that they just get a lot of losses there because they are going to get preferential treatment if it works out that way. A conference that's kind of getting screwed here is Clemson. Again, not Clemson, but the ACC. 2 things can be true at the same time. I felt like Clemson was a little bit overrated, but they also feel like, dude, if they go 12-1 and they beat North Carolina, who's going to be probably a 10-11 win team too, they deserve to go to the CFP. But man, any sort of misstep right now between TCU, Michigan or Ohio State, USC, and whoever between Clemson and North Carolina, any sort of misstep is going to be taken advantage of. All the ties are going to go to the SEC. I hate to say it. I know you hate to see it too. But man, I mean, we're talking about a situation where, if we go to 12 teams, 3 SEC teams in the national championship conversation is not unheard of. However, that's out of 12. We might see it out of 4. Again, I just want to have a quick video on that because that is the biggest storyline I see right now. We have potentially a nightmare scenario for everybody who is a Pac-12, Big 12, Big 10, where ACC, actually the ACC and the Pac-12 right now are looking at, and they are fuming because they're not getting any preferential treatment in the situation. I know you got to schedule better games, blah, blah, blah. I know. You don't have SEC crap week where you get to beat Austin P or UAB in the last week of the season. But, man, just for parity's sake, like I said, I hope TCU takes care of business. It looks like they've got a reasonably favorable chance to do so. USC's got a more difficult road. Clemson and North Carolina, I think that, again, South Carolina's not a bad team. Clemson has to play South Carolina. It's not a bad team to play. UNC's got a couple more, matchups to go through. Again, UNC and Clemson are already slated for the conference championship in the same way that LSU and Georgia are already slated for the conference championship game. But, man, we've got some collision courses coming. Like I said, if we get 3 SEC teams in the conference college football playoff, I think there's no way that the rest of college football is not going to be like, all right, we're going to the 12-team CFP. Let's do it immediately. But that's just me. What do you guys think is going to happen? Get in the comments right now and let me know. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, Hit the like button, hit the share button, and hit the subscribe button. I don't know if there's a share button. Whatever, dude. Just do all the stuff, okay? I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you guys later. I am out.